We've been given the tools in this program to learn to handle in a healthy way the struggles of life, the struggles of ministry.
I would recommend the evening program to every type of person. No matter what you do for a living, there is leadership in you, and it's definitely going to pull that out of you and help you realize that.
If you want to grow as a leader of your family, a leader at your workplace, or even on your spiritual journey, the evening program it's going to take you to another level. What do you have to lose by coming to the evening program?
Welcome to Real Church for Real People, everybody. Happy Sunday. So glad you're here. And glad to be gathered together this weekend. For all of you who are gathering with us online, glad you're along for the ride as well. And wherever you are, whether you're at home today or maybe traveling, glad you came along. And then everyone at our Hockessin location, part of our church family in the Hockessin area, we love and honor you today. Newark, will you help me show some love for all of our locations? Yeah. So we are continuing this series, and we'll jump into the final week of that in just a moment. But I do want to just take a moment on the front end and let you know how excited I am about what you just heard and saw, Journey Leadership Institute and the evening program that's happening this fall. And I want to say thank you to all of you who are making that possible with your giving. I believe it's going to change our region in the years to come as we send leaders out into ministry in the marketplace who are passionate, who are equipped to change the world. I'm very, very passionate about Journey Leadership Institute. And I want to encourage you, if you want to take a step forward and you want your leadership to grow, consider the evening program this fall. Maybe you are not quite sure you consider yourself a leader yet, but you've maybe gotten some taps on the shoulder at times, or people said, I think you have more in you, and we want to help you explore all of that potential God's given you. So check out the evening program this fall. And as we are in this final week of the series, Best Summer Ever, if you have just been joining us today for the first time and you've missed the first few weeks of this series, you can go check that out, check all the messages out on our YouTube channel or our website, get caught up to speed. But as we wrap up the series, how many of us had anything happen this past week that did not go the way we wanted to? Just anybody at all, just show of hands if you're in one of our physical rooms. If you're online, give me a frowny emoji or something. Just let me know. Yeah, we had something maybe that took longer than expected. Anybody have anything that took you longer than you expected it to take? May have a situation where somebody reacted differently than you hoped they would react. Anybody else take the stairs 3 at a time at some point over the past few weeks, land the wrong way and break one of your toes? Not that this happened to me a couple weeks ago, but just wondering if anybody has had this experience. Actually was in a video shoot this past week in my home, and we had this video planned that we were posting to YouTube, and it did not go as expected, and we posted it anyways. If you want to go check that out later, you'll see what I mean. And life's like that. It has a way of throwing us off our game. I mean, that's just life. It comes along when we least expect it and just messes with things and disrupts our plans. We have these expectations of how things are going to go, but reality rarely plays nicely with our expectations. So maybe when you hear best summer ever, there's a little voice in the back of your head that says, yeah, but what if it isn't? What if this isn't the best summer ever? In fact, we're already a few weeks into the summer season. For some of us, we're going, it already has not started the way I hoped, or something has not gone the way that I wanted it to. What if the rest of our summer doesn't live up to all of our expectations? What if we're facing a hard thing this summer, maybe in a relationship or with our health or our job or our plans for school this fall? What if things are just not shaping up the way we hope? That here's what I know. If I took a poll right now and I asked all of us, which would you rather talk about? How to avoid hard things or how to face hard things? Most of us would probably say, hey, if you're going to teach me anything, teach me how to avoid hard things. I don't need to know how to face them. I just need how to have less of them in my life. And I'm with you. I feel the same. But just on the off chance that something is not going to go the way we want this summer, just as we wrap up the series with the remote possibility that there will be something that does not live up to our expectations this summer, whatever we believe about God, wherever we are in our spiritual journey, maybe this is the more important question today, and that is, how do we become the kind of people who can handle hard things when we can't avoid them? So we want to avoid them if we can, and there are ways to avoid some of the hard things that we bring on ourselves, certainly, but life has a way, even when we're doing everything right, of disrupting our plans. So how do we become the kind of people who can handle that? Well, a guy named James wrote this little book that we have in the New Testament of the Bible to followers of Jesus who are facing exactly that predicament on a very serious level. They were struggling, difficult circumstances all around them. Things weren't going the way they expected or the way they wanted. And James writes this. He says, "Dear brothers and sisters," so if you're new to the Bible, new to the whole church thing, this is a way that he is reminding us that when we have Jesus in our lives, when we have faith in Jesus, that we are family. So when we begin to follow Jesus, some people think that following Jesus is a solo activity, but it is not. We don't just get Jesus, we get each other, for better or for worse. We'll talk about that in another message. But we get each other. Some of us are still not convinced. But James says, yeah, we're brothers and sisters. We're in a spiritual family. So, brothers and sisters, here's what you need to know. When troubles of any kind come your way, here's what you should do. Consider it an opportunity for great joy. Now, I don't know about you, but when troubles of any kind come my way, rarely is my first thought, oh, look, an opportunity for great joy. That's not how I typically respond. I don't know if you thought maybe I was the most positive person on the planet, but that is not my initial reaction when I have conflict with a friend or an unexpected money issue, or I work long days and wonder if I'm really accomplishing anything that matters, or when my kids are hurting, or one of my parents is maybe struggling, or my wife is going through something hard. You know, I've learned better than to say, oh, aren't you glad you're facing this? What an opportunity. Aren't you grateful that you've been given this opportunity for great joy? I don't want to get punched in the throat. So I know better than to suggest that hard things are an opportunity, at least right out of the gate. You got to give some time for them to settle in. Am I right? Just anybody else feel like you've got maybe a hyper-positive person in your life and you want to say, look, I'm going to get there, just give me a minute. Give me a second before you start pouring on the positivity. So James says, consider it an opportunity for great joy. Consider, not like it's an immediate reaction. You're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to stop. I'm going to have to stop. We're going to have to consider. And again, we might say, but I don't know how to do that. That doesn't seem like it's even possible. But when you think about it, what's the alternative? Because we are going to do the considering. I don't know about you, but I can do some thinking and some ruminating about difficult stuff. Anybody else can do so? I mean, I can let it just marinate like a fat, juicy steak in the refrigerator of my soul so often, way, way past when it's still fresh. Anybody else? You know what I'm talking about? And so we're going to consider troubles. So what if we could consider when troubles come that it's an opportunity for great joy? What if we could get there, not as an immediate reaction, but as a process that gets more and more consistent in our lives? Because troubles are going to come, everybody. They're just going to come. It's part of life. Troubles of all kinds. Small troubles like flat tires are going to come. Medium-sized troubles like struggles in relationships are going to come. Big trials like getting a flat tire while you're on your way home, fighting with the person you're struggling in a relationship with, they're going to come. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Anybody lived longer than 4 days? Anybody know troubles are going to come? And sometimes what we think is, okay, even though past experience proves that this is not the case, we think, all right, it's going to be the best summer ever if everything goes exactly the way I hoped and the way I planned. If my vacay is everything I wanted it to be. If I get to spend 100 hours by the pool, and hopefully it's somebody else's pool, they have to clean it. Anybody know what I'm talking about? All right, it's not all of you own pools, so that was very awkward. But if I come over, I just want you to know I'm thankful for you. So I'm going to be able to spend time by the pool. If I hit my sales goal, if I get accepted for what I applied for, if I lose 20 pounds, if the kids get along, it's going to be the best summer ever. But hard things have a way of showing up even when we're doing everything right. It's part of life. So what do? Well, first, James says we need to stop and consider. We need to consider instead of becoming anxious or apathetic. I can do both in the same day. Anybody else? Just get really freaked out or say, well, let's pretend it's no big deal. And neither's true. So James says, instead of getting anxious or apathetic, instead of losing our mind or pretending that it's not really a problem, what we do is we accept what is actually in front of us. We face our lives exactly as they are, and then we do something counterintuitive. We begin to consider who we are as the people of God. And if you don't have a real relationship with God in your life yet, this is one of the biggest realities that changed in my life, and it didn't happen overnight. It's taken time. But to begin to recognize, wait, what I'm facing is not the end of the story. I am a child of God. So then we begin to consider through the lens of who we are in God and who He is in us, something so counterintuitive, so radical, so out there, it's not going to come naturally to us. We begin to consider that this is not just an obstacle. It's an opportunity, and not just to survive, but it's an opportunity for great joy. So when troubles come, it's not just an obstacle, it's an opportunity. You say, well, I think I get what you're talking about. You're talking about positive thinking. I guess you want me to think more positive. Yes, positive thinking. I am positive you are going to go through hard things. Positive about it. So it's not just positive thinking. Actually, when we know Jesus, this is very realistic thinking, and here's why. James doesn't just say, sprinkle in some positive thoughts, hang something on the wall, put something on your dashboard to remind you, or just think happy thoughts. No, he says, consider it an opportunity. Here's why. For you know that when your faith is tested, what happens? Your endurance has a chance to grow. You are becoming someone in the process of the struggle. There's something happening beyond our circumstances that when our faith is tested, our endurance, our perseverance, our tenacity, our stick-to-itiveness, our grit, our stamina, our capacity begins to grow. And again, if you're new to the message of Jesus, this is a big theme, that troubles are going to come. And when they come, our faith is tested. And when our faith is tested, our endurance gets a chance to grow. If we're going to follow Jesus, we have to understand we are following someone who showed us what this looks like, because Jesus went to the cross. And it was a hard thing, but one of the writers in the New Testament says that he saw the cross in front of him and he hated the shame and the pain and the suffering of it. He even asked his Father if it were possible that he would not have to go through with it, but then he was able to consider what the cross would accomplish. He saw the joy, so he went through the pain, and God raised the man Jesus from the dead. He is our Savior, our leader, and Lord because he lived this out. He went through the process, and he was able to save us, which was his great joy. So here's the theme. Troubles come, faith gets tested, endurance gets a chance to grow. It's like resistance training. It's like lifting weights. As we lift the weight of a problem with God, our muscles are stretched, the fibers begin to tear and break down. That's the painful part, that's the hard part. But the end result is that our muscles get bigger and stronger so we can lift more in the future. At least I'm counting on this. It has been a slow process physically for me, but I'm believing it works. I'm believing the science, it works. So the only way to build strength is to create resistance for our muscles, our current abilities and capacities, to have to work against, to stretch them to what seems like their breaking point so that they're stressed and stretched, and then our body begins to rebuild those muscles back stronger. Without problems, there's no chance to develop perseverance. The only way to build spiritual and emotional muscles is to consistently lift the weight of worries and troubles and problems together with God. That's how we become the kind of people who can handle hard things. And we don't go looking for it, and it's not enjoyable in the process, but it's true in every area of our lives. I'll give you one very simple example. How many of us are parents here, and whatever the age of your kids, you are hoping, you desire your kids to succeed with their money? Any parents desire your kids to succeed with their money? Just So if you're not raising your hand, or if you're not letting us know that that's you, the alternative is they still need yours when they're 40. So one more time, can I just get yes, all right. So now parents are like, oh yeah, now, yeah. Definitely want my kids to succeed with their money. I read a fascinating study a few years ago about second generation kids that do well with money, kids that don't do well with money, and some of the correlations with the way they were raised. And this blew my mind. I never would have expected it. That many times it's the kids of people who worked really hard, who started out with nothing, built a business or a career or some kind of enterprise out of nothing for years and years, decades, fought doubters and setbacks and insecurities and problems, took it all on their shoulders, took high ownership, began to succeed, became successful, lived within their means, handled their money wisely and well. It's their kids who often struggle the most. You say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would that happen? Because so often these parents who went through immense pain to build something from the ground up decided, I'm so glad I went through that so my kids don't have to. And so they begin to just give them everything they ask for. Now, I've got some students in the room who are very, very upset with me right now. You're sitting on the edge of your seat. You're like, shut up, man. Don't say another word. Want a car for my 18th birthday. Stop. But these parents said, oh, we don't want our kids that we went through so much and we started from nothing. We had to scrape, we had to scratch, we had to work long hours when nobody was watching. We had to take ownership. If it rose, we rose. If it fell, we fell. Like we had to go all in like that. Nobody was there to back us up. It was a struggle, was a struggle, was a struggle. Now let's make sure our kids don't have to face that. So they gave them everything they asked for. And those kids struggled in a much different way, not knowing what to do with their lives, lacking purpose, not handling their money well. Why? Because the parents didn't realize it was the suffering that made us successful. Any parents thinking right now, man, I think I need to talk to some of my friends who are parents about getting their act together. It's not me, but they, And again, there are some students going, man, I really wish, can we cut that out of the part of the message that my parents might see later? No, because there might be an area of your life where you're wishing success would just be handed to you, not realizing that if it's handed to you, it's not going to be success. There's something about the struggle. And our Father in heaven, so good news, our dad in heaven, our Father in heaven, he's not a dysfunctional parent. And he has good boundaries. And he gets this. He knows that the struggle is what sets us up for success, so he allows things to take place in our lives. He doesn't always cause them. There are things that happen in our lives because we live in a broken world, but he never misses the opportunity to say, hey, now you've got a chance to really grow, for your endurance to develop. You didn't ask for this, but now you have an opportunity to become a different kind of person, a deeper, richer, stronger kind of human being. It's why he designed his church the way he designed his church. Listen, if you're treating church, if you're brand new here, this is not for you. Please feel free, check it out. Take as long as you need. But if you're a follower of Jesus and you are treating his church like a product to be consumed rather than a community you are engaged in, can I just tell you, you are missing out on the opportunity to grow. You say, don't tell me that. I've been a Christian for 18 years. No, you have been a Christian for 1 year, 18 times. There's a difference. Because you get opportunities to take next steps, to lean in, to grow in your faith, to develop, to take shape, and you go, oh, no, I like the worship, I like the messages, I like the feeling, I like to be able to say I'm a Christian. Come on, somebody. We're missing out on Jesus saying, hey, I want to take you deeper. And he's not doing it because he wants to see us suffer. No, because he knows on the other side of the cross, there's a resurrection. On the other side of the pain, there's something deeper in our purpose. God lets us go through the process to strengthen our faith. That's why some of us, it's time to step out. And it's time to step up. It's time to not just keep enjoying God for ourselves for the rest of our lives, but to invite somebody else to experience God with us. Stretch those muscles a little bit. Could it feel awkward and uncomfortable? Yeah, and that's where we grow. That's where we begin to take shape, when we step out of our comfort zone. Someone shared with me this past week, a couple years ago, they heard me say, man, we have an opportunity to invite people to experience God with us. And And they turned to each other and said, we should do that. So they went out into their neighborhood and began to invite people to church. And a few weeks later, they saw one of the families they invited. And this person said to them, I've driven by that building many times. I thought I should check that out, but I never did until you invited me. The power of that. Who is that better for? The person who was invited or the person who invited? Yes. You see what I'm saying? God uses those moments when we stretch out of our comfort zone and we grow. Now, it's important to understand that troubles alone don't cause our endurance to grow. And if you're like me, we probably know lots of people who have lots of troubles, but they don't get any stronger because they don't face those troubles well. It'd be like having lots of weights in your exercise room, but never lifting any of them. Some of us are like that. I bought this elliptical machine 2 years ago. They said it would change my life. And yet it has sat there for 2 years. I don't feel any different. I don't understand. It doesn't work. It's broken. It's for other people. It's not for me. And that's how some people face their troubles. I get these problems. I thought problems were supposed to make me stronger. I'm not getting any stronger. Complaining about problems is not the same as lifting them. Whining about problems is not the same as lifting them. Aren't you glad you came to church today? Hey, you say, well, you're saying it awfully strongly. Yeah, because I know from experience. I don't even know. You may not need to hear any of this. I do this weekend. That what really matters is when we get down to the business of saying, through Christ, I can do anything. He strengthens me, so I'm not going to complain about these problems, wish I didn't have these problems, pretend I don't have these problems, blame these problems on someone else, wait for the moment when these problems will be over. No, I'm rolling up my sleeves, and through Christ who strengthens me, I can do all things. I can face this season. I can grow in the midst of the suffering. It's believing that when troubles come, it's not just an obstacle. It really is an opportunity. It may be an unasked for opportunity. It may be an undesirable opportunity at first, but it is an opportunity for great joy. So what should we do when troubles come this summer? Sunburns and broken AC units and broken off engagements and boredom and vacations where it rains the whole time and the Airbnb disaster and that moment some of us are experiencing where we get outbid trying to buy our first house 5 times in a row, and stress and negative pregnancy tests or positive ones. Bad decisions come back to haunt us. And sometimes our own weaknesses and failures and temptations. What do we do in the midst of the struggle? Are you ready? Here's a plan. Let it grow. Let what grow? Your endurance. So when troubles come, consider it an opportunity for great joy, because you know when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So James says, I'm asking you, don't waste this opportunity. Let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. Isn't that the life we all want? I don't know about you, that sounds like a good life. Perfect, complete, needing nothing, a life where everything goes the way we planned, or maybe a better way to describe it is a life where we consistently go the way we planned, because no matter what's happening around us, we've become the kind of people who can handle anything. That's a good life. Isn't that a good life? You just imagine just waking up every day going, man, I don't need anything. My life's just complete. Not in an apathetic way, but I'm motivated. I feel joyful. I feel grateful. I'm glad to be alive. It's a good life. How do you get that life? Troubles, problems, weight that seems like more than you can lift, pain. There's no other way. See, when our faith is tested, our endurance has a chance to grow. It doesn't mean it will grow. It has a chance to grow, and the chance is dependent on the decision that we make when troubles come. When our faith is tested, do I get bogged down with frustration and hopelessness and excuse-making and self-medicating, or do I grow? Do I believe that when troubles come, it's not just an obstacle, it's an opportunity. It's a moment given to me by God. God may not have caused the crisis, but he did create the opportunity within it. And it's a moment that I have where I can make a decision. This is why, by the way, we need a few people around us going the same direction we are spiritually. Because if we don't have people who remind us of this and pray for us and encourage us, and if we're not reminding others and praying for them and encouraging them, we will forget. We will lose sight of the opportunity in the midst of the obstacle. This is why we need purpose in our lives, so we don't lose perspective. We need to do more than just come and sit on a seat. We need to serve. We need to give our lives away. We need to stretch. Why? So that our endurance has a chance to grow, because if it grows, in the end, we will be perfect. God's definition of perfect: perfectly dependent on him, perfectly at peace in the middle of any storm, perfectly clear about who we are, whose we are, and why we're here. We will become the kind of people who can handle hard things, and now we know the path to get there. There's nothing worse than not knowing the path, but now we know the path. Our endurance has to grow, which can only happen when our faith is tested, which can only take place when troubles come. So when troubles of any kind come, what should we consider it? An opportunity for great joy. What should we thank God for? Not just the easy days. We should thank God for the problems and the weights and the things that don't go the way we want. In fact, I dare you, as we wrap up the series, to start thanking God for that class you failed, and the business that flopped, and the time she dumped you, and the bankruptcy you filed, and the medical condition you were born with. I dare you. So that doesn't seem right. You have a choice to make. What will you do with this obstacle? Thank God for the moment you couldn't hide it anymore, and you finally had to admit you needed help, because when you felt like you were at your lowest, God said you're finally starting to move in the right direction. Thank God for the loneliness you endured, the divorce that you didn't ask for, the loss that ripped your life apart. You say, how do I do that? Thank God for it, not because he caused it, but because through it, he gave you a chance to grow, and he gave you the opportunity to choose joy. He could have just let you face it and it be what it is, because it's a broken world. But God said, I'm not gonna stop the brokenness in this life, but I am gonna redeem it in the end. And in the middle of the obstacle, I'm gonna give my people an opportunity for their endurance to grow. Thank God for the weight you're carrying right now, because I know it's tearing and stretching and straining at the fibers of your spiritual muscles, but the Holy Spirit is gonna come in and go, let me build that back up stronger than it was before. Thank God that instead of just allowing you to avoid everything hard, which would have made you weak, he has given you the power to face anything hard, which is making you complete. Thank God. Thank God. I know troubles themselves are not good things. I'm not naive. We don't go looking for pain. I don't think we should wake up every day going, bring on the hard stuff. Just, woo! Can it get any worse? But God has a special favor for those who go through a process they didn't ask for. And here it is. God blesses those who, what? Patiently endure. Testing and temptation, who recognize, who stop, who consider it an opportunity, because afterward they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. So God doesn't just stand by and watch us suffer when we're going through hard things. No, God is at work blessing us as we patiently endure moments and seasons and even summers that don't go the way we expected. And in the end, God crowns us the kings and queens of handling hard things if we never stop loving him. And that's why when troubles come, it's not just an obstacle, it's an opportunity. If we'll consider it through the lens of who God is and who we are to him. So over the past few years, Southern California has experienced a lot of droughts. And I was actually there a few years ago during one. There was There were water restrictions. Everything was brown. People were saying things like, we can't even remember the last time it rained. It was bad. And there are a lot of fruit trees in Southern California. A lot of fruit is grown there. We've been talking during this series about how God wants us to produce good fruit in our lives, and what that process looks like. So what does a fruit tree do in a drought? I mean, fruit trees need water. And can we all agree the drought is not the fruit tree's fault? It didn't wake up one day going, yeah, I really want it to not rain for 3 months. It didn't ask for it. So what happens in those situations? Well, here's what happens. It's exactly what you would expect. From the outside looking in, everything suffers. I mean, the trees suffer, the branches suffer, and then eventually the fruit seems to suffer. So these are pomegranates. And now these are pomegranates that were grown not during a drought. These are healthy, fresh, bursting with goodness, right? If you like pomegranates. If you don't, stay with me. But these are healthy pomegranates. So when a pomegranate tree has all the things it needs, the rain, the correct ratios, it grows strong, it produces good fruit. But during a drought, the fruit of a pomegranate tree looks different. It's dried and cracked and it doesn't have the same appearance on the outside when there's maybe a mild to medium drought. So pomegranates are full of antioxidants and all this stuff that's really good for you. Researchers are still discovering everything good that's in a pomegranate can fight off inflammation and infection, and just they're healthy, so they're an important fruit. So when researchers opened these pomegranates that grew in the middle of drought, that were all dried and cracked and discolored on the outside, they found something very interesting. When they tested the contents, there were just as many antioxidants, just as many healthy things going on the inside of that fruit as in the ones that grew having everything that they needed. It's pretty cool, right? I mean, what that means is you can have the best summer ever, even if there are spiritually or emotionally or financially dry parts of it. That's good news. But there was one exception. So during one particularly difficult drought, there were some farmers who decided to purposefully shock the pomegranate trees early in the drought with even worse conditions. You say, those are some mean farmers. But they restricted the roots of the pomegranate trees, and then they poured a compound on them filled with salt that drew even the little bit of existing moisture out of these trees. So I thought, maybe if early in the process we can just really make it difficult on these trees, they'll be inspired to fight back. But from the outside looking in, just the opposite happened. These trees were stunted and small and dwarfed. Their fruit was tiny, and the skin was even worse than the ones I just showed you, just discolored, broken. But when the researchers opened those little pomegranates, they discovered something shocking. That fruit contained twice as many antioxidants and healthy ingredients than either of the others. You can spend the rest of your life worried about the outside being perfect. Or you could be a pomegranate. Goes through a bad drought. And it's obvious things aren't perfect. But crack you open, and you're richer than you otherwise would have been. So if you're looking for a church where plastic people get dressed up every week and go pretend everything's okay and they don't have any problems, this isn't it. If you're looking for a church that preaches a faith that solves all your problems like a light switch, this isn't it. This is real church for real people. What that means is many of us come here beat up. We come thirsty. We come searching. We come broken. We come addicted. So many of us, we're having to find larger spaces for our recovery groups to meet in. And I'm glad. Because we're making space for real people who say, man, I'm tired of hiding it. I'm tired of pretending everything's okay. Here's what's really going on in my life. So we come tired. Many of us come burned out on religion. I have so many conversations with so many of you. Man, I went to church a little bit when I was a kid, or I grew up in this religion or that religion. I just got so burned out on it. Some of us come looking great on the outside, very successful, but on the inside, we're hollow. And let me tell you something about the message of Jesus. It does not pull any punches. So it doesn't say, oh, you're good. It doesn't pat us on the back. No, the message of Jesus says, actually, you are broken. You have sin. You have all of these things that you can't fix on your own. And the better you look on the outside, the more we probably got to work on the inside. That's what the message of Jesus says. But it doesn't stop there. Jesus says, hey, I'm going to take your suffering and your pain and the stuff you've been through that you didn't ask for, and I'm going to transform it into an opportunity in your life to produce something you could not otherwise produce. And if you'll let me, I'm gonna put you in a community of people, and together with me and with your brothers and sisters in the faith, you're gonna step toward the hard stuff, and you're gonna lift the weight by the strength that I give you, and you're gonna address it by faith in me and with community with each other, and together you're gonna get stronger. And watch us when we come out on the other side of a really bad drought, because we're packing twice as much pomegranate power on the inside, everybody. Don't get obsessed with how the fruit looks on the outside. Keep working the inside of your life. Keep stepping up the things you didn't ask for. This summer, hey, Journey, let's keep gathering, connecting, and serving. Let's not drift away. Let's not lose faith. No, this isn't the moment to let what God has given us gather dust. Let's keep inviting. Let's keep praying. Let's keep giving. Let's keep leading. Why? Because we are becoming the kind of people who can handle hard things. We are becoming the kind of people who can do all things through Christ who gives us strength. We're the kind of people who believe that it's not just your obstacle, it's your opportunity. So step one is to stop and consider for a moment and say, God, I thank you for the opportunity wrapped up and packaged in this thing I didn't ask for. I give you glory for it. I honor you for the opportunity to take shape as a follower of Jesus. Do your work in me. As we head into the rest of this summer, if you would say, I'm in, I want that in my life. I'm not looking for trouble, but when it comes, I'm gonna consider it an opportunity for great joy because of who I am and whose I am. Would you just lift your hand, just hold it up high if you need that. I'm gonna lift it up like a thirsty tree. Come on, Hockessin, online, right where you are. Jesus, we love you, we honor you, we praise you. You went to the cross for us, you died for us. And you were raised to life to show us that on the other side of everything we think we've lost, there's a new mercy every morning, there's a new hope, there's a new opportunity. This summer, bless us with good things and bless us in the midst of the hard things. While you let God speak to your heart for a moment more, for some of you today, maybe you are going through a hard thing and you don't have a real relationship with God. You don't know Jesus for yourself yet. I want to tell you something that may seem a little bit not what you would expect me to say, but you may make it through it without Jesus just fine. You may get through this problem or this issue or this crisis without God. The only question is why? Why would you go through the crisis but say, I don't want the crown? Without God, problems have no purpose. With God, He gets into the midst of our hard things that we face, and he shapes them, and he shapes us, and he gives our lives purpose. When we know Jesus Christ, when we let go of our life for his sake, we become the kind of people who can handle hard things. And if you want to begin a real relationship with God, this is your moment, your opportunity. If that's you, right where you are, whisper out a prayer of faith, something like this. Jesus, today, I put my faith in you. I believe you died for my sins. I believe you rose again today, in this moment. I declare you leader and Lord of my life. I'm gonna follow you. And if that's you, while everyone around you says focus on God, if you would say, I wanna be included in that prayer, I'm taking that step today, will you shoot your hand up and hold it up high? Here in Newark, Hockessin, hold it up high, yeah. Putting my faith in Jesus. Online, let us know. Type the word faith in the comments. And then everybody together, let's give Jesus all the praise. Come on, would you do that with me? Give him all the thanks.